We are under liberal attack, you guys. They just secretly voted to release the explosive Matt Gaetz report. California Governor Gavin Newsom, perhaps the most liberal of them all, just used the bird flu as an excuse to declare a state of emergency in the Golden State. And lastly, Fed Chair Jerome Powell seems to be on a mission to bring out the biggest stock market crash that he can with his erratic predictions about Fed rate cuts. Now, seriously, guys, we have got to be vigilant here. And we got the latest update. So first, there's the Matt Gaetz report. The House Ethics Committee voted behind closed doors on it, and they decided to release the findings of their investigation of sexual misconduct allegations against former Representative Matt Gaetz. Here's how the former Trump cabinet nominee responded. Watch.
Gaetz just responded. What did he say?
He did. He posted this to X responding to our reporting on this. I'm going to read for you some of what he wrote. He said, quote, "The very witnesses," that was in quotation marks, "DOJ deemed not credible were assembled by House Ethics to repeat their claims absent any cross-examination or challenge from me or my attorneys. I've had no chance to ever confront any accusers. I've never been charged. I've never been sued." It went on to say, "It's embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have earlier in life. I live a different life now." One other thing he said in that statement that I found very interesting as well, Dana, is that he said that he had never had sexual contact with someone under 18. We know from our reporting, and this is even previous reporting that CNN has done, that this allegation in particular is included in the House Ethics Committee report. So interesting in itself that he was addressing that head on. But all to say, I think, look, one of the key things that we learned through our reporting, and one thing that's been clear over the last several weeks now, is that Matt Gaetz abruptly resigned when Donald Trump had announced that he was his pick to be Attorney General. That led a lot of members to speculate and really question whether that was because he wanted this report to be buried. It is unusual for this committee to release a House Ethics report for a member that is no longer a member of Congress. Now, we know Matt Gaetz has said that he has no plans to come back to Congress next year. However, he is still very much a player in Republican politics. I know that he talks to Donald Trump and his team repeatedly. It's very much unclear what his political future looks like. I think this report is likely to be very explosive and potentially damaging. So that's one thing, all of us will keep our eyes on when we eventually get to see this publicly.
Man, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy must be laughing his ass off right now. I mean, yeah, definitely wild, you guys. And liberals are going to be going crazy over this again, right? Plus, the stock market just reached a record losing streak, all thanks to Jay Powell's meddling, right? Yeah, great job, Jerome Powell. Here's the breakdown from Wall Street Journal Chief Economics Correspondent Nick Timirios. Watch.
Yeah, I think, the Fed, even putting aside Trump or the change of any administration, the Fed already had kind of a tricky puzzle here, which is what is a normal interest rate in this post-pandemic economy? If you go back 5 years ago, the Fed thought a neutral rate might be around, say, 2.5%. They raised rates to 2.5%. 5-6 years ago, and the economy slowed a lot. And so they said, okay, maybe this is all the economy can take. Now we've been above 4% for more than 2 years, and the economy is doing fine. And so people are going to begin to say, well, maybe the new normal interest rate is something higher than it was after the financial crisis. And then, Maria, you layer on top of that the policy uncertainty. Do we see more tariffs? Do those push up prices? Do they slow down growth? Do you have tax cuts and deregulation that maybe helps offset any of the inflationary concerns you would have from tariffs? What happens with deportations and the labor supply? We have a number of potential policy experiments that we're going to see unfold here. And so I think that makes it awfully difficult to have much confidence in a forecast for a year or two from now.
Yeah,
This expert called it tricky. I call it 4 years of Joe Biden as president really not rocket science. And speaking of pseudoscience, news outlets are also making a big stink about bird flu cases in America. Could this be the next COVID? They're certainly making it seem like it, right? Here, check this out.
All new at noon, someone in Louisiana has been diagnosed with the first severe bird flu illness in the U.S. We're told that person had contact with sick and dead birds in a backyard flock, typically a few birds for small-scale farming or as a hobby. Most cases have been in commercial poultry or dairy settings and have been mild. Health officials stress the risk to the general public remains low, with no evidence of person-to-person spread.
No name, photos, symptoms, hospital admission evidence. Somebody's definitely getting paid here. And to that, the fact that California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency due to bird flu. We definitely got to keep an eye on this, guys. More on that later, so definitely stay tuned. But first, let's talk about this Matt Gaetz report that is for sure to be explosive when it comes out. In fact, the list of allegations already ranges from illicit drugs to sharing inappropriate images or videos on the House floor, misusing state identification records, converting campaign funds to personal use, and or accepting a bribe, improper gratuity, or impermissible gifts, according to an announcement by the panel last summer. So the biggest one is allegations of sexual misconduct involving at least one alleged underage partner, which he has denied and said amounts to a political smear. Now, Gaetz quickly responded when CNN broke the news. He said on X, he's never been charged. He's never been sued. Instead, House Ethics will reportedly post a report online that he has no opportunity to debate or rebut as a former member of the body. But then he goes into a confession saying that he's often sent funds to women he dated, even some he never dated but who asked. Modern day Santa Claus, I guess. Exchanging money for romantic and probably sexual favors. I think there's a word for that, right? Well, according to the former congressman, he dated several of these women for years, but he never had sexual contact with someone under the age of 18. His defense? That his 30s were an era of working very hard and playing hard too. He ended his response by saying it's embarrassing, though not criminal, that he probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than he should have earlier in his life, and that he lives a different life now. Yeah. No wonder he dropped out of the Trump cabinet nomination. Gaetz is now working as a host at the One America News Network. But here's an interesting tidbit from Representative Susan Wild, the top Democrat on the committee. Before this new decision came out, she talked about how this committee is evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans, 5 Dems, 5 Republicans, which means that in order to affirmatively move something forward, someone has to cross party lines and vote with the other side. Meaning that the latest decision to release the report indicates that at least one Republican lawmaker crossed the aisle and voted with Democrats. Kind of makes you wonder what's really happening behind the scenes, huh? Could this be a distraction to the New Jersey drones that everyone's talking about right now? Because as House Speaker Mike Johnson told reporters last month, letting the Matt Gaetz ethics report go to public doesn't follow rules and traditions, and there's a reason for that. For Mike Johnson, that would open up Pandora's box, and he doesn't think that that's a healthy thing for the institution. So what do you guys think? Are we about to see Pandora's box being opened up in Congress, in our government? President-elect Trump did say that he was about to drain the swamp. So is Matt Gaetz the start? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on this, guys. We're about to get started, so do not go anywhere, guys. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell if you haven't already yet. All right, guys. So in other news, liberals are probably rejoicing at the news that Jerome Powell just caused. The Dow Jones Industrial Average slid to its worst losing streak in more than 4 decades as investors hope that the Federal Reserve will aggressively cut interest rates next year. That's right, guys. The Dow Jones fell by 1,123 points, ending the day 2.58% lower after the Federal Reserve indicated in a policy statement that it's forecasting just 2 interest rate cuts in 2025 and not the previously projected 4 interest rate cuts. Now, of course, we've got Fed Chair Jerome Powell to thank for that, because on top of this official statement, he also told reporters that you don't rule things completely in or out in this world. So basically, he's kind of like admitting that he really doesn't know what the heck he's doing, just kind of pumping or crashing the stock market whenever he likes. You see, Wall Street had expected the Fed to cut rates, but the statement that it is expecting just 2 rate cuts in 2025 fueled a broad sell-off. In fact, Jay Hatfield, CEO and CIO at Infrastructure Capital Advisors, confirmed, and he said that stocks fell in response to the Fed's hawkish rate cut. But here is the exact quote. The Fed's admitted uncertainty as to the monetary policy actions in 2025 combined with the expectation of only 2 rate cuts rather than 4 rate cuts in 2025, it only amplified investor uncertainty and concern, triggering profit taking this year versus delaying into the new year. And take note, guys, inflation stands at 2.7%, well above the Fed's target 2% rate. But man, remember when Biden caused inflation to go high? It almost reached double digits at one point. Remember that, guys? And this is the kind of economy that we're passing on to President-elect Trump. You really got to hand it to the man for rising to to the challenge. Just be wary, guys, because some liberal economists are trying to make it look like Trump's plans are not going to work. Economist Robert Fry is already predicting the worst, saying that he can't remember being this uncertain about the inflation outlook, and that with the mix of inflationary tariffs, individual tax cuts, and disinflationary deregulation, spending cuts, policies, who knows what combination that we're going to end up with. Well, that's why they put a businessman like Trump in charge, right? So to these so-called experts, I just say sit down and just watch it happen. Another story that we're monitoring is the bird flu. Some are already calling it the next COVID, but I say that the timing's awfully suspicious given how Trump's inauguration is just 2 weeks away. So here's the deal, guys. Two major news here. So first, they announced that a person in Louisiana has the first severe illness caused by the bird flu in the US. Now, from what I gathered, the patient had been in contact with sick and dead birds in a backyard flock. Agency officials also didn't immediately detail the person's symptoms, but common symptoms in earlier cases have included pink eye, coughs, and sneezing. Now, it's also the first U.S. human case linked to exposure to a backyard flock. But health officials say bird flu is still mainly an animal health issue and the risk to the general public remains low. Okay, so there's that. Now, the second bit is the bird flu virus that was detected in a retail sample of raw milk from a California-based dairy farm. The contaminated sample came from Fresno-based Raw Farm, the largest producer and retailer of raw dairy in California. Now, apparently, the Santa Clara County Public Health Office has been testing raw milk already placed in retail stores across the state as they called a second line of consumer protection. So far, Raw Farms has since issued a voluntary recall of all quart and half-gallon milk products produced on November 9th. Products are set to expire on November 27th and have the lot ID 20241109. But according to Jennifer Nuzzo, director of the Pandemic Center at Brown University, what they don't know is how much risk H5N1 poses to people that drink unpasteurized infected milk. So they're monitoring this. And, that's all well and good. But we also have to be careful about the government officials using bird flu as an excuse to curb people's rights and freedoms like they did during COVID. You know what I mean, guys? Case in point. California Governor Gavin Newsom just declared a state of emergency due to a bird flu. He says that the idea is to ensure government agencies have the resources and the flexibility that they need to respond quickly to this outbreak. But it's always a slippery slope with these announcements and these restrictions, so you just got to watch out, Now, like I've been telling you guys, ever since President-elect Trump won in November, liberals and Democrats, they're not going to give up their power without a fight. In fact, they're very desperate, and we know how desperate people are dangerous people, right? I mean, heck, before you know it, they could be trying to pull something to try to keep themselves in power. You know what I mean? Now, I really wouldn't put anything past them. So this is why we need to stay vigilant, guys. Stay on top of the news like this. I used to feel like I was just spinning my wheels, constantly working, but not getting ahead. You ever feel that feeling? You know what that feels like, right? I mean, I would look around and I used to wonder, why am I not making the progress that I know I'm capable of? And it wasn't until I found a group of people who had figured it out that I started to see results myself. The Life Pursuit Network is exactly that, a community where financial success is not only possible, but it's the freaking norm. You'll get access to the strategies and the tools that others have used to get ahead. For less than $1 a day, you can join a group that's focused on real growth. Stop struggling on your own and start achieving growth and your goals with us. Hit the link down in the description down below and join us over in the Liberty Pursuit Network today. So just drop a quick yes in the comments down below. Hit the like button if you guys agree. Also, if you want to stay updated on all of the threats the MAGA movement is facing, then subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell. We will make sure you do not miss one single second of these oh so important updates, guys. So let's stick together, guys. And while we're working on the next video, why don't you go ahead and check out our other explosive content on the channel, guys. I highly recommend our recent one, Die Hard Democrat Stephen A. Smith waking up and finally realizing that he's and they've been lied to all about January 6th. That's right. Oh, and the best part, it's all on tape. So be sure to check that video right after this one. As always, appreciate you guys being here. Thanks so much for hitting the like button. Check out these videos coming up here next, and we'll see you guys next time.